Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to Ringside Wrestling Entertainment. This is Joel Perez here for your weekly episodic news show. This is Behind the Mic, and it is Behind the Mic, episode number 63. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to Behind the Mic, and it's been quite a while. It's been quite a while of inconsistency with Behind the Mic, but I think that's over. I think that is over. Because, I've been very busy as of late, and the inconsistency on this channel is something I really need to address, because even Smackdown's review wasn't even up earlier this week, on Tuesday, of course, because I was out watching Avengers Infinity War, and, of course, I'd be getting home from school very late, so we had to go late to watch Avengers Infinity War, and, holy crap, I was blown away. But I will not spoil the movie for anybody here who hasn't seen it yet, which, quite frankly, if you haven't seen it yet, it's a must-watch if you're interested in this entire superhero Marvel Cinematic Universe that's going on. Avengers Infinity War, absolutely great, crazy stuff. I was left heartbroken like so many others, but of course, you gotta go watch it and find out why. If you are lucky enough, if you are one of the lucky few who has not had the damn movie spoiled for you. I thankfully had the movie spoiled for me. Not so thankfully, pissingly had the movie spoiled for me. But that's not what we're talking about here on Behind the Mic. This is, of course, a show where we talk all the wrestling news, all the biggest wrestling news for the week, and quite frankly, we've got some big news stories to address here on Behind the Mic. Realistically, missing the last week wasn't the biggest deal, but still, it hurts me just because I love to get these shows out consistently. I love to do this, and it's so fun for me, even though we're not at all growing at any pace, even though we're not at all even making revenue off of this. This is why I do this. I want to get my voice out there. I'm passionate about wrestling, and if I have that, then, and if I can do this, that's enough for me. So I hate being inconsistent with this stuff, but unfortunately, that's what happened. But even then, last week, there wasn't that much news, but this week, we're right back on it. We are right back on it. The news has been flowing this week. That's what I'll say. And there's a lot of news to address. But here's what we got here today on Behind the Mic. We have news on Roman Reigns, the most controversial, like WWE likes to say, polarizing figure in all of professional wrestling. And we have news on Roman Reigns and the Backlash 2018 fiasco, bringing to light the fact that maybe Roman Reigns isn't the best choice to be the face of this company. Maybe he's not, and maybe a heel turn is called for, especially as this week's Raw and Smackdown ratings plummeted. And I mean plummeted. My eyes were like, whoa. Anyways, speaking of more news that had me saying, whoa, we also have news on CM Punk making a wrestling return, a wrestling-related return, not necessarily to the ring, but CM Punk. Is CM Punk all in? We have news on that here today on Behind the Mic. We also have news on Charlotte Flair, the Charbot, the robot of SmackDown Live is here, and she is about to miss time because of a ruptured breast. Interesting story right there regarding Charlotte. We also have news on Brock Lesnar's next match not being until SummerSlam, and then people wonder, what's the issue with having Brock Lesnar as your Universal Champion? This is exactly it. We have news on Vince McMahon's reaction to fans walking out of the Backlash pay-per-view. Absolutely ridiculous. We have the reaction on that, and that's probably going to be one of the top news stories on Behind the Mic here today. And we also have news on why this past week on SmackDown Live, Rusev beat Daniel Bryan. This isn't necessarily the biggest news, but I just want to talk about this since I didn't necessarily get to talk about SmackDown, since there was no SmackDown review. this week. That's like the first Smackdown review that's been missing in like over a year. But we are going to talk about that a little bit here today on Behind the Mic. But of course, I just want to tell you guys before we get all into our usual activities here on Behind the Mic, I just want to tell all of you guys to make sure to go check out all the other content on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. And despite the fact that the past couple weeks, as far as Behind the Mic goes, has been inconsistent, and even this past Tuesday on SmackDown Live, there was no review. There still was a Monday Night Raw review to go check out this past week on Monday, as well as a Backlash 2018 review and results. We talk about the failure that was Backtrash this past Sunday, as well as the preview and predictions to Backlash if you want to see my mindset going into that pay-per-view. A week before that, not even a week and a half before that, we had a Greatest Royal Rumble to review. And this past month of April, bro, this past month has been crazy. We had to deal with Backlash coming out of April, like literally a couple of days after. We had to deal with the Greatest Royal Rumble, and we had to deal with the biggest show of the year, the Greatest Royal Rumble, as long as not Greatest Royal Rumble, WrestleMania, as well as NXT TakeOver New Orleans. So there's a bunch of content for you guys to go check out. Make sure to go check it out. And of course, if you want to check it out, if you love what you're hearing here, make sure to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling channel, because every single time I upload, you're going to have these videos straight to your subscription box. So make sure to click that subscribe button. Make sure to click on the notification bell to get these notifications straight to your mobile device. And make sure to like this video if you enjoy what you're hearing here. If you don't, click that dislike button. If you think I'm a clown, if you think I'm ridiculous, if you think I don't know what I'm talking about, click on that dislike button. I love the feedback, and the best place to give feedback, speaking of, is in the comment section below. So make sure, go down to the comment section below and tell me what you're thinking. Tell me what you think of all these news stories. Do you find it absolutely ridiculous that WWE had fans walking out of Backlash? Oh my god, what was Vince McMahon's reaction? Oh my god, we're going to talk about all that right here on the Behind the Mic today. Well, make sure to tell me in the comment box, or like I like to call it, the enlightenment box, down below what you are thinking, because your opinion in many cases is just as important as mine. So make sure to go do that, because for now, ladies and gentlemen, you already know the deal. I'd like to ask you guys to stay tuned, because we're going straight into the news stories. And we start off here on Behind the Mic talking about the CEO of the WWE himself, the chairman of the board, Mr. McMahon, Vince McMahon, who is reportedly very angry after fans walk out of Backlash during the main event. Now, what did you expect when you put Roman Reigns and Samoa Joe over a WWE Championship match between AJ Styles and Shinsuke Nakamura? Can you please tell me? Can you please tell me, WWE, what were you thinking? Either way, let's read the article, and I'll go in depth into what I'm thinking here. There have been a number of complaints about Sunday's Backlash, and it is blatantly obvious that fans were not thrilled about it. While it was originally expected that the WWE Championship match would be the main event, Samoa Joe took on Roman Reigns in that spot instead. While it may not be too hard to believe, hordes of fans actually began walking out of the arena during the main event, and Vince McMahon is reportedly not very happy about it. Looking through social media, it is evident that fans weren't overly happy about the majority of Backlash. They gave credit to a couple of matches and really enjoyed AJ Styles versus Shinsuke Nakamura, but hated how the championship match finished with a double countout. Things became even worse when Roman Reigns came out last and stepped into the ring for the main event match against Samoa Joe. The match was a rather slow and dragged on for a while, but Reigns was somehow able to break out of the coquina clutch on a number of occasions and ended up with a big victory. It's a victory that wasn't seen by everyone who showed up to watch Backlash, though, as a lot of fans had already walked out, as reported by Bleacher Report, and there's even video to boot. After the match came to an end and Roman Reigns stood victoriously, the remaining fans decided to let WWE know how they felt about the result. Those watching at home on the WWE Network could see that there were some empty seats around the arena when the camera panned around. The boos and negative reaction to Roman Reigns could also be easily heard and even appeared to be drowned out or lowered at times, which is something WWE has stooped down to the level of doing so many times in the past. Either way, anyone who has been watching WWE for the last 5 years is aware of the fact that they have pushed Roman Reigns down the throats of fans. No matter what they try to do, they cannot get a good crowd reaction for him, but it may have finally hit the boiling point for Vince McMahon. The Twitter account of Slice Wrestling is reporting that booing is one thing, but McMahon was not happy at all about fans actually walking out of the Backlash during the main event. If the report is to be believed, the fans literally leaving before the pay-per-view ended may have finally opened Vince McMahon's eyes. From here on out, it's going to be interesting to see just what happens with Roman Reigns and if his mega push from the last 5 years continues. Last night on Monday Night Raw, Reigns was in the main event match, which was a qualifier for the men's ladder match at Money in the Bank, but he didn't win. Finn Balor took the victory, even though it was Sami Zayn taking the pinfall loss in the triple threat match. Reigns was not overly featured on Raw, and he walked out without a win or big showing, and some may wonder if that happened due to fans walking out of Backlash. If Vince McMahon has finally realized that Roman Reigns, if this is what it took for Vince McMahon to realize that the Roman Reigns experiment has been a failure, well, I have one reaction to that. It's about damn time that you realize that this Roman Reigns experiment has been a failure. I mean, every single arena that this guy has walked into for the past 5 years, where you have been presenting this guy on television as an absolute god. He's absolutely amazing at everything he does. This guy's great. Roman Reigns is the future of the WWE. He's going to go on to conquer the beast, Brock Lesnar. I mean, all this malarkey that WWE has thrown in our faces, and you mean to tell me that the reaction that he gets each and every single night, each and every arena that he steps into, has not been noticed by Vince McMahon until now? Are you kidding me with that? Are you? That's absolutely ridiculous. That is absolutely ridiculous, but it's better late than never. That's the way I'm looking at this right here. And WWE, Roman Reigns, and I've said this multiple times, Roman Reigns is a sunken ship. Roman Reigns is a sunken ship. He is the Titanic, and he is at the bottom of the ocean. But that does not mean that you can't pick the Titanic up and use those parts for something else. Maybe even use those parts, in this situation, definitely even use those parts for something better. And that is a heel turn. That is a heel turn. I think everybody is sick and tired of seeing Roman Reigns as a babyface, where WWE blatantly ignores the fact that this guy is garbage. And on Stone Cold Steve Austin's podcast, I'm not sure who the hell he was on there with. I listened to the clip earlier today, but I think it might have been Wade Keller. Stone Cold always had Wade Keller, somebody on there with him, and he broke this down perfectly. What's down to the T about what he said is when he said that Roman Reigns, he's great at what he does, he's good in the ring, not at all the best on promos. We already know that situation. But it's the fact that he's not the best at what he does. And despite the fact that WWE is trying to play off this storyline coming off with Brock Lesnar, where Roman Reigns is saying that the authority is against him, Vince McMahon is against him, there's a conspiracy against him, and he's trying to rally the crowd through the sympathy storyline, that doesn't even make sense, because when the fans are seeing things, they're not stupid. The fans are seeing things like you putting Roman Reigns in the main event. That just comes across as the absolute opposite of what you're trying to present. If Roman Reigns is this guy who's being screwed over by the company, and another point he brought up is the fact that this guy's getting title shots after losing clean against Brock Lesnar at WrestleMania. He got another title shot at the Greatest Royal Rumble. Nobody seems to be bringing up that point. That's a great point. He's being put in the main event at Backlash, even though there's a WWE Championship match, which could have easily taken that spot, regardless of whether the finish was main event worthy or not. Regardless of whether that finish was main event worthy or not. So, what in WWE's right mind is gonna make them put Roman Reigns out there and have him say that Brock is Vince's guy, that Vince is against Reigns, that Vince doesn't respect Reigns, when you're blatantly putting things and idiotic decisions, you're making idiotic decisions and illogical booking decisions like that right in front of our eyes. What sense does that make? None. None. And that is a great point by whoever the hell was on there with Stone Cold on the latest podcast when they were talking about this entire Backlash debacle. That makes me think, if anything, what we're seeing on WWE television right now makes me think more than ever that Vince McMahon summed this up, and this was the other conflicting report to this one going around, that Vince McMahon actually believed that people were going home because it was a show running past 11 o'clock and the children had school the next morning, and that he doesn't believe that people were walking out truly because this main event was something that people didn't want to see. It was garbage, and that's exactly what it was on Backlash. But with what we're seeing on WWE television, and currently right now, it's Jinder Mahal who screwed over Roman Reigns from winning that triple threat match on Monday Night Raw. And apparently WWE is going to go into a feud between Jinder Mahal and Roman Reigns. It's going to stretch through the entire summer. And Jinder Mahal, more than ever, is a clean-cut heel. So once again, you have this heel babyface dynamic going on in the WWE. And honestly, who am I to believe, since the reports do say that this is going to stretch through the entire summer, who am I to believe that WWE isn't doing this just to get Roman Reigns over? Because Jinder Mahal is one of the most hated people on WWE television as well, so why not? Maybe they'll actually like Roman more than Jinder. If anything, that's going to make Jinder Mahal the biggest babyface and Roman Reigns the biggest heel. My lord, this is absolutely ridiculous. I don't know what to say, bro. The question is right now, has the Roman Reigns initiative come to an end, or has it just begun? I, myself, this past Monday, was just worried and terrified, just thinking, is WWE really going to go through with putting Roman Reigns in Money in the Bank? Are they going to make this Roman in the Bank? Are they going to have Roman Reigns win the Money in the Bank briefcase? For now, it's looking like Roman Reigns isn't going to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match, but I wouldn't put it past WWE making some second chance triple threat or fatal four-way and giving Roman Reigns that entry and giving Roman Reigns the Money in the Bank. I don't know. There's a lot of rumors going around as far as who can win the Money in the Bank. Certainly one of the more unpredictable matches it's looking to be of the year, but Roman Reigns winning the Money in the Bank, getting his revenge on Brock Lesnar, this all sounds terrible. I mean, this is absolutely ridiculous, and this Roman Reigns garbage needs to stop. That is my thought on that. For now, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to move on here to more news on Roman Reigns, and we will progress here on Behind the Mic. For now, we move on to the next news story. And we move on here to a news story talking about the Raw and Smackdown TV viewership ratings, because after all we've seen at Backlash and this Roman Reigns fiasco, ratings have plummeted for Raw and Smackdown. I'm going to read this article, and then, of course, I'll give you my opinion. Wrestling pundits and fans have been begging the WWE to turn Roman Reigns heel ever since he left the Shield to launch his pursuit of the WWE World Heavyweight Championship. Reigns has long been rumored to be Vince McMahon's chosen successor to John Cena as the future face of the company, and despite an abysmal fan reaction and constant boos, Reigns has now headlined 4 straight WrestleManias. Despite winning the WWE World Heavyweight Championship on 3 occasions, Reigns has never held the title for long, and he has yet to defeat Brock Lesnar for the WWE Universal Championship. Things might have finally come to a head for Roman after his disastrous bout against Samoa Joe at WWE Backlash on May 6, 2018. The match was reported to be a huge bore fest, which it was, which was actually quite surprising as Reigns and Samoa Joe have had several good matches in the past. Either way, continuing on here, however, at Backlash 2018, the match alternated between Samoa Joe tossing Roman around like a rag doll and long rest holds with the talented but overweight master of the Coquina Clutch flopped on top of Reigns while trying to choke Roman into unconsciousness. After 17 long minutes of being brutalized and pummeled, Reigns suddenly speared Samoa Joe out of nowhere and pinned him for the win. Fans were already furious that the bout between Samoa Joe and Roman Reigns was the main event over Shinsuke Nakamura versus AJ Styles, and they vented their frustration throughout the match by loudly booing Reigns at every opportunity. As the match dragged on, fans added several taunts to the boos. According to Uprock, shouts of "This is boring," CM Punk, and "Beat the traffic" filled the arena as the crowd began to file out before the match was over. While this was bad enough, things got worse for the WWE in the week following Backlash 2018, when both Raw and Smackdown had their lowest television ratings since December 2017. Raw ratings were down by 17% and Smackdown ratings fell by 8%. Vince McMahon and WWE management must be concerned about the ratings drop and the fans' refusal to accept Roman Reigns as a babyface championship contender. Roman has been the loser in 3 title bouts against Brock Lesnar, and he is now scheduled for a relatively meaningless feud with Jinder Mahal, another former WWE World Champion. Where Reigns heads now is anyone's guess, but even Forbes magazine is calling for the WWE to turn him heel. Reigns' reactions aren't getting any better. He's perhaps since been surpassed by Styles as a merchandise seller. He's certainly been overtaken by names like Strowman, Styles, Bryan, Balor, and Rollins in terms of crowd reaction. He lost consecutive matches to Lesnar, as well as other big matches to stars like The Miz, Nakamura, and Rollins, and fans wanted him to lose to Joe. In other words, if this doesn't make WWE think about a potential heel turn for Reigns, then what would? When did Roman Reigns lose to Shinsuke Nakamura? Oh, the Royal Rumble. I think that's what Forbes is referring to there, that little quote. But either way, don't forget Roman's odd Shields buddy Dean Ambrose should be back soon from his injury. Fans would probably love to see Reigns viciously attack the lunatic Fringe and turn heel in the process. So that is the deal with that. Yes, Roman Reigns needs a heel turn. That is the most obvious thing you can state in wrestling nowadays. Roman Reigns, turn heel, that is an obvious yes. And the reason for that is that Roman Reigns is not working as the top babyface of the WWE. But WWE was right to choose Reigns. WWE was right to push Reigns because Reigns is very talented and he should be at the top, but in the right position. And the top position that Roman Reigns needs to be in is in the position of the top heel. Out of all the baby faces in WWE, what is most important when you're a baby face is your work rate and your character and promos. Roman Reigns has no character and no promos as a babyface, and his work rate is good. It's very good, but it's not at the level. I can name you 20 other guys in the WWE if you want me to list the names. AJ Styles, Dolph Ziggler, Seth Rollins, Samoa Joe. I'd even take a Cesaro, a Sheamus over Roman Reigns in the middle of that ring. Andrade Cien Almas, Johnny Gargano, Tommaso Ciampa. Who else? Aleister Black, your current NXT champion. Velveteen Dream down in NXT, who's only been wrestling for like 2 years now, and his performance center grown. I take all these guys over Roman Reigns inside a WWE ring. And I can name you a lot more, believe me. I'd even take an Elias over Roman Reigns in the ring, believe it or not. He's not the best in the ring at all. But when you're heel, work rate is necessary, but it's not as necessary as it would be as if you were a babyface. So with the heel, most of what you're working on is your promos and your character, your ability to get heat. And you look at Roman Reigns, and the ability to get heat is there. Because if you play off the real life circumstance that is going on, you can easily make this guy your biggest heel, and he can be getting the right reaction. Because right now, what Roman Reigns is getting is go away heat. Nobody wants to see him. They're telling this guy to F the hell off. We don't want to see you on our television screens. If he's a heel, it's that respect boo. It's that, damn, you're good at what you do, but screw you. Screw you, man. I despise what you're doing to my favorite babyface. And you always gotta think in this mentality where the right babyface and the right heel, they're perfect for each other. The babyface needs the heel and the heel needs the babyface. There's no heel that is going to get Roman Reigns over as a babyface. It doesn't matter if you pull out a Joe, an Elias, a Mahal, whoever you pull out of the bag of tricks, that's not going to be a good enough heel to get Roman Reigns over. If you put Roman Reigns in that heel position, there's plenty of baby faces that if you position them in the top, you have that heel babyface dynamic that can carry your company. Daniel Bryan, the biggest babyface, this is the face of your company, is now back. Imagine a heel of the magnitude of Roman Reigns. Imagine if WWE put all this effort into making Roman Reigns the heel. And they put all the effort that they did into rebuilding Daniel Bryan as the top babyface of the WWE. That would be gold right there. But this is just something that would spark WWE television. This is something, a Roman Reigns as a heel, as your top heel, is something that can carry your television, that can get your ratings back where they need to be. Because one of the major things that is ruining WWE programming right now is the booking of Roman Reigns. People are sick and tired of this blatant disrespect because it's disrespectful that WWE isn't acknowledging the fact. They're just ignoring it. I feel insulted when he's in the ring. And that's why the ratings are where they are. The ratings are awful. The ratings are awful. And it's because you put on shows like Backlash where you blatantly disregarded the fact that, well, you have this WWE Championship match. This is what people want to see go on last. You blatantly disregarded that just to put this guy at the top. Why does Roman Reigns need to be positioned over the WWE Championship? That is disrespect not just to the title, but everybody watching. Everybody who's been watching this WWE Championship for however many years it's been around. You're putting one man over your top prize. That shouldn't be the case. It shouldn't. And that's what WWE does to get this guy over. Like I said, if they put the effort into a Roman Reigns heel turn that they do into this babyface run, I'm telling you, you got your freaking heel for the ages, bro. Roman Reigns, turn him heel. It will spark WWE television. Imagine the feud that you can have between Roman Reigns and Seth Rollins, Roman Reigns and Dean Ambrose, Roman Reigns and Finn Balor. I mean, Roman Reigns doesn't have opponents as a babyface. As a heel, you got something rolling right there. And on top of that, Monday Night Raw needs heels anyways. Who do you got there? Jinder Mahal? That is pathetic. For now, we move on here to the next news story, and it has to do with the voice of the voiceless. For now, we move on to talking about a man that if he were to return to wrestling in any capacity, he'd be in the same boat as Daniel Bryan, where he would be the face of whatever company and he would skyrocket whatever company's presence that he would be in, whether it be Ring of Honor, whether it be Impact Wrestling, which I highly doubt, or whether it be the WWE. CM Punk, if he were to make a return to wrestling, this would generate some buzz. And CM Punk's wrestling return, speculated as ex-WWE champ, booked for Chicago event on the day before the All In show. Since he walked out of the WWE early in 2014, wrestling fans from all over the world have been clamoring for CM Punk to return to the ring. While he has yet to express any interest in returning to the business that made him a household name, his confirmed appearance at a meet and greet on the day before the Young Bucks and Cody Rhodes All-In Wrestling show has many fans excited for what they hope would be a grand return to the squared circle. According to WrestlingNews.co, Punk's meet and greet appearance was confirmed by 1 Hour Tease, which tweeted that the former WWE champion will be holding an autograph signing on August 31st at its Pro Wrestling Tees retail store in Chicago. This event will be held just 1 day before All In, which is scheduled to take place on September 1st. Just a few miles away from the Sears Centers in Hoffman Estates, as noted by Pace. Although All In organizers and independent wrestling mainstays Matt and Nick Jackson, aka the Young Bucks, and Cody Rhodes have yet to confirm anything close to a CM Punk return at their show, 1 hour tease announcement sparked a lot of speculation on Twitter, with fans hoping that Chicago native Punk would appear on the All In card. Wrestling publications have mostly avoided similar speculation, but WrestlingNews.co opined that it would be a good business if Punk is somehow confirmed for the event, and that his involvement in a wrestling-related meet and greet is interesting enough to get our hopes up in a big way. So that is the hope here. It may be too early to expect CM Punk to make his grand return to pro wrestling at All In, but both members of the Young Bucks have been quoted as saying that they'd love to have him on the show. In an interview with Rolling Stone, Matt Jackson said that he aggressively bugged Punk for a year or two about a wrestling comeback before realizing that it would be best if the pro wrestler turned MMA fighter decided for himself. Similarly, Nick Jackson said that it might be a matter of time before Punk realizes that he actually misses pro wrestling and that there is a lot of fan demand for him to return to the ring. Meanwhile, the main return that might be on CM Punk's minds right now is a return to the Octagon in front of his hometown crowd, as the 39-year-old welterweight will be facing Mike Jackson on June 9th at UFC 255, which will be held at the United Center. This will be Punk's second UFC fight, following his submission loss to Mikey Gall at UFC 203 in September 2016. So that is the news on CM Punk right now. I mean, it would certainly be possible for CM Punk to make a wrestling return at the All In event. It would be very, very interesting. And the question right now is CM Punk all in? I think he might be. It depends realistically how his fight is going to go at UFC 225. I mean, CM Punk, last time he fought in the UFC 2 years ago, damn, it's hard to believe that's been 2 years already, but the last time he fought in the UFC, it's easy to say he didn't look good. He did not look good. It did not look like he was ready to be in that environment, and we all covered it, and it was ridiculous. It was pretty much ridiculous, but I think CM Punk, if he's successful, which I think he will be, there's no reason not to root for CM Punk. He's had 2 more years of training, 2 more years of experience, 2 more years to learn and hone the craft that he is trying to perfect here. And I think he'll do well. I mean, there's no reason to wish this guy bad luck. You want him to be successful. This is something the guy loves, and I think he's going to do well. And if he doesn't do well, I mean, it's certainly not the worst thing for us wrestling fans, because that means most likely that CM Punk will be making a return, and I don't want to see him return to the WWE, because you know that's something Punk doesn't want. Is going to be like WWE saying, I told you so. It's going to be like if WWE gets to say, we were right, we knew you'd come back, and all that shit you talked, you're going to have to pay for it now, because you know WWE's going to try to bury CM Punk in some way, shape, or form. But hopefully one day that relationship between the WWE and CM Punk will be recovered and worked upon, because realistically, you don't want to see CM Punk never come back to the WWE. But certainly one of the things that will bring CM Punk back into the WWE, or into the wrestling landscape, not necessarily WWE, is the success of the indie scene, is the success of what Nick and Matt and Kenny and Cody are doing in the independent circuit. The entire Bullet Club, for that matter. Marty Scurll and what's his face? I forget at this point. But it's late. It's late at night. It's like 11 o'clock. Excuse me if I'm tired, and I can't recall this. But either way, it's the success that he's seeing in the indie scene, and the fact that Daniel Bryan was able to come back. I mean, Daniel Bryan and CM Punk doesn't need to be documented. These guys are great friends. So, I mean, all this that's going on in the wrestling scene right now, and especially if he does not succeed in the UFC after his second fight, I think definitely we're going to see CM Punk returning to the wrestling scene, and it's going to shake some things up. I want to see it. I'm sure you want to see it. I'm sure we all want to see it. It's going to be one of the craziest things and one of the most unbelievable sights that you can possibly see. And if that were to happen this year at the All In show, I mean, that show would truly be something special. I mean, you look at the ticket prices for that show alone. They released it on their Twitter, did Nick and Matt Jackson, and those tickets, they are very reasonably priced. If that show was in Chicago, I would be there, and I certainly want to be there because it's looking like a pretty good show to me. All the stars that are all in, I like it. I would be all in. I think I am all in, but that is besides the point. I mean, hopefully CM Punk does make his return to wrestling, but we're making progress here because CM Punk will be at his first wrestling affiliated event the day before the All In show at a Pro Wrestling Tees or whatever the Tees was, one of those Tee stores for wrestling. He will be at a wrestling affiliated event the day before All In Chicago. It has to do with All In. It does damn sure have to do with the partnership with Nick and Matt Jackson. And I'm sure they're going to keep people on their toes. They're going to keep mouths watered and people talking on whether or not CM Punk will be returning to wrestling. But overall, do I think it will happen? I don't know, but I damn sure hope so. For now, we move on here to the next news story. And for now, we move on here to talking the schedule of the current reigning, defending, undisputed Universal Champion Brock Lesnar. And I mean, what can you say? What can you say? This was my problem with having Brock Lesnar as your Universal Champion, not just for the past year that we'd have to wait through WrestleMania 33 and WrestleMania 34, but keeping the belt on him past WrestleMania 34, and now from the looks of it, definitely into SummerSlam, because Brock Lesnar's next match is not coming anytime soon. Details on contract expiration date. Everyone thought that Brock Lesnar would be leaving WWE after WrestleMania 34 and heading back to UFC, but then he retained the Universal title and things turned confusing. Since then, it was announced that he had re-signed with the company, and he even went on to retain his title at the Greatest Royal Rumble as well. Now fans are wondering when he'll be back on television, but it looks like they're going to have to wait a long time. It was originally believed that Lesnar would put the title on the line at the Money in the Bank event in June, but that doesn't appear to be the case now. According to Wrestling Inc., Lesnar's new deal is a short-term one that will allow him to also fight in the UFC if he wants. There is no actual public information as to how long the contract may last for, but it is expected to expire before SummerSlam, which is on August 19th. If that is the case, it would make sense for his next WWE Universal title defense to come at Extreme Rules in July, and that would probably be when his big loss would occur. Well, even more rumors are swirling, and it seems that may not end up happening either. The rumor roundup from Cage Side Seats believe that Brock Lesnar's next match isn't coming anytime soon, and even July is too early. They're reporting that Lesnar's next match is expected to be at SummerSlam in the Barclays Center, which contradicts other reports that his contract will be up by that point. It's hard to really know what is going on with the Beast Incarnate and what the company really wants to do with him. Obviously, WWE is more than content with the top title from Monday Night Raw not being defended regularly or seen hardly at all. A few days ago, the rumors had Lesnar defending the WWE Universal Championship against Braun Strowman and Roman Reigns in a triple threat at Money in the Bank. Now that may fully be scrapped, or it could still be in the works as reported by Express, but everything is up in the air at this point. Strowman is now in the ladder match, so that whole idea is out the window. Brock Lesnar is definitely under a WWE contract of some sort, but the details of it aren't completely known. He still has the Universal Championship in his possession, and it appears as if he may hold on to the title for a few more months. If he's not wrestling at Money in the Bank, it's hard to think that Extreme Rules would be his last match with the company, with rumors now circulating that he's going to next defend it at SummerSlam. That seems like the more logical option. This is the problem. This is exactly the problem with having this guy hold the Universal Championship. I mean, we endured enough last year with the title not being on Raw for an entire year. But now WWE wants to stretch this out even more. I'm absolutely sick and tired of it. Brock Lesnar has done nothing significant in this current Universal Championship run besides that matchup with AJ Styles at the Survivor Series last year. And let me tell you, that matchup wasn't even for the Universal Championship, so you can't even count that. You can't even count that. Brock Lesnar, I mean, most of the time, you've seen this guy come out and have very lazy matches. The two matches he's had with Roman Reigns this year at the Greatest Royal Rumble and at WrestleMania 34 were absolutely piss poor, boring displays of utter garbage. And this guy doesn't show up on Monday Night Raw. The title needs to be on Monday Night Raw. The only reason WWE is getting off now is because Seth Rollins is your Intercontinental Champion. And this was stressed by me and so many others for months. And it's the fact that the Intercontinental Championship needed to be on a babyface who can defend that title week in and week out, that made that title the top prize on Monday Night Raw. And last year, it certainly wasn't doing that on The Miz. So last year was purgatory. At least now we have Seth Rollins as the Intercontinental Champion, and he's doing things with that title. He's putting in match after match after match, night after night after night, so at least there's that. But Brock Lesnar, this creates an entire dilemma. That's the only reason that I just wanted to see Roman Reigns win the Universal Championship, whether it be at WrestleMania 34 or at the Greatest Royal Rumble, because simply the title's back on Raw. Put us out of our misery instead of enduring all this Roman crap and WWE giving Roman Reigns yet another coronation at WrestleMania 35, which seems like they're well on their way to doing. I mean, holy crap, I don't know. I absolutely have no idea. There were rumors that it would be Lesnar and Lashley at SummerSlam for the Universal Championship, and Lashley would be winning the title. But Lashley, especially after what we've seen on Monday Night Raw, holy shit, that guy has no momentum. So I don't know what the deal is here. Quite frankly, if there's a man who needs to take the title off of Brock Lesnar, it is the name that kind of leaked here, Braun Strowman. Braun Strowman is the guy. He is. I mean, he is so over, shown his versatility, shown his in-ring ability for a man of his size, and everybody loves the guy. And he's damn well deserving of a Universal Championship shot, so why not? Why wouldn't you give the title to Braun Strowman? Everybody's tired of seeing it on Brock Lesnar. Nobody wants to see it on Roman Reigns. Nobody wants to see Bobby Lashley in general. So give it to the fourth name that starts with B, Braun Strowman. I mean, you've got to be kidding me. It's the most logical option. And quite frankly, there's nobody else better for the job. As far as I'd go as far as giving it to Drew McIntyre. Drew McIntyre looks like he's ready to do fantastic work on Monday Night Raw. But WWE probably isn't going to go that far that soon. But damn, if you talk to me, I'm saying Drew McIntyre is certainly looking and acting legitimate enough on Monday Night Raw that he should win the Universal Championship. But Brock Lesnar's part-time schedule will continue to affect Monday Night Raw. But as far as WWE goes, once again, they don't seem to care. So, I mean, either way, Brock Lesnar's not going to be on WWE television. I vouch to take the title off of him because either way, he's not doing great stuff as far as matches goes on WWE television. But once again, WWE doesn't really seem to care about that. So I don't know what the deal is, but for now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on here to the next news story. And our next news story here has to do with Daniel Bryan and the reason why Rusev beat Daniel Bryan this past week on Smackdown Live. This is pretty much just to discuss what happened on Smackdown Live briefly because, of course, I didn't get to talk about SmackDown Live this week in a SmackDown Live review. And I actually looked at it up and down, and it actually seemed like a pretty decent edition of SmackDown Live. The good thing that WWE did this week is that, I mean, they put focus on building towards Money in the Bank, and that was some good stuff. Either way, Rusev beat Daniel Bryan clean to seal the Money in the Bank spot, and The Miz defeated Jeff Hardy on this show. During Tuesday's SmackDown Live, WWE superstars Rusev and Miz won their respective matches to seal their spots in on the Money in the Bank ladder match on SmackDown. The Miz faced WWE Champion, United States Champion Jeff Hardy, and Rusev squared off against Daniel Bryan in the main event. The four wrestlers are some of the most popular wrestlers in the WWE, and the live audience in Baltimore, Maryland were heavily interested in both contests. The Miz has been on an impressive run in the WWE, and his match against Randy Orton at Backlash was arguably the best match of the night against Randy Orton. I mean, Seth Rollins. With this article, I don't know where the hell is coming from. Randy Orton. You got to be kidding me with that one. When was the last time the Miz and Randy Orton had a one-on-one matchup? Don't remind me. Don't remind me, because that sounds awful. Either way, in a non-title contest, Jeff Hardy and the A-lister had the opening match for SmackDown. The two wrestled for the better part of 20 minutes, and the match had all the main event-like spots that you would expect from these two talented athletes. At the end of the contest, after several high spots counters and false finishes, Jeff Hardy successfully hit his swanton bomb, and I love this finish, just as the referee began counting, the Miz reversed it into a crucifix pin to win the match. The crowd looked surprised and popped big over the finish, and the Miz once again finds himself in the Money in the Bank ladder match. Just quickly to tell you guys how I feel about this, I think this was an absolute correct decision, and I love the fact that the Miz, you look at him, and he doesn't need, this is something that I realized while watching SmackDown Live, he doesn't need this backup that he had on Monday Night Raw, which was realistically bringing this guy down and really keeping him from being the fantastic heel that he needs to be. Because you look at the Miz, and quite frankly, he's been doing great on the mic. I mean, fire on the mic ever since 2016. Something hit this guy, and every promo that he's cut has been absolutely just out of this world. You just got to drop anything you're doing to watch this guy speak. But as far as his in-ring ability goes, he's been very underrated. He's been very underrated, and I'll admit, even I underrate The Miz in the ring. But what he did with Seth Rollins in the ring at Backlash, I mean, this guy's no slouch. This guy's no slouch. And now, the fact that he has nobody as backup, and people were even suggesting Big Cass be the backup of The Miz. Even I was suggesting that. But quite frankly, this unleashes The Miz and allows him to be a lot better of a heel. Because now, he not only it doesn't have to resort to winning the same way with the interference and blah, 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 blah. But if he is going to win by cheating, he can do it in a more clever way. You can do it in a classic heel manner where, oh my God, that is interesting. That was cool. That was clever. Oh my God, what a creative finish. And two, he can win clean. And he can actually look like a legitimate heel who poses a threat. And that's something WWE gets so wrong with their heels. The heels overall are booked much better than the baby faces, but you think about it and you look at it up and down, and quite frankly, the Miz, I mean, he's booked like a chicken shit heel, and none of it is legitimate. And this is why Brock Lesnar has such little competition, because nobody that Brock Lesnar goes up against, for the most part, is legitimate. Roman Reigns damn sure ain't legitimate. But guys like The Miz, you should be able to build them up. And winning through smart ways like this, like pinning Jeff Hardy with the crucifix swanton bomb, it's absolutely fantastic. Portrays The Miz as this heel who just never goes away. He keeps coming back, and he makes his way into the top by doing what he does best. I like it, and it allows him to win clean. Jeff Hardy didn't need to be in the Money in the Bank ladder match either way. Great finish right there. The Miz is going to Money in the Bank. Either way, Rusev versus Daniel Bryan. Everybody expected Daniel Bryan to win this matchup, but quite frankly, I love the fact that Rusev won, and he won clean. And it makes it seem like WWE is actually going to start to put some stock behind Rusev and Rusev Day. That's absolutely fantastic. I love that. I mean, there's no reason that something that's as great as Rusev Day, selling merchandise, great crowd reactions, should be killed. And if WWE is going to run with it, I give them credit, because a lot of people undermined it. But we still have yet to see. I don't see Rusev winning championships, and I'd love to see Rusev win the Money in the Bank. But you can't help but think, well, where the hell is Daniel Bryan going? Now, clearly, you're going to see the continuation of his feud with Big Cass, but Big Cass was nowhere to be found on SmackDown Live this past Tuesday. So I don't know, but as far as Rusev beating Daniel Bryan goes, I think this is the correct decision. Because Rusev, you want guys like that in there who you're saying, oh my God, what if WWE's going to give this guy the rub? Rusev deserves that opportunity. And, Daniel Bryan isn't necessarily a guy who needs it. If WWE is going to book Daniel Bryan correctly, the way they originally booked Daniel Bryan was that he wouldn't win every match. He wasn't coming out on top each and every single time. And that just made everybody like him more because he was that underdog. You don't necessarily know if he's going to win. So that's what makes Daniel Bryan so great, rising to the top. He's not necessarily winning every matchup, but when he does, you're like, yes, I love that guy and he won, thank God. You're rooting for the guy. So that's the case with Rusev and Daniel Bryan. Rusev wins, and I love that because Rusev's over as hell. Rusev is over as hell, and the surprising thing is the crowd is split 50-50 for Daniel Bryan and Rusev. Just goes to show you the power of Rusev Day. But, good shit on Smackdown Live this week. Nothing too terrible. The women, they weren't looking too good. But, what can you say? That's my brief analysis of Smackdown Live. For now, we go on to talking about the last and final news story on Behind the Mic, episode number 63. And for now, we move on to the last and final news story here on Behind the Mic. And don't ask me where this one's coming from. Don't ask me where this one's coming from at all, but Charlotte's boob has been ruptured, and this is quite depressing to me. No, I'm just kidding, but it's not sure how much time Charlotte will be missing, but Charlotte, I don't know. Charlotte Flair to miss time to repair a ruptured breast implant. WWE superstar Charlotte Flair will be out of the wrestling ring for some time. How much time Charlotte Flair misses remains to be seen. The 5-time women's champion suffered an injury that is not regarded as serious. However, many would consider it to be somewhat odd. According to Pop Culture, Charlotte Flair ruptured one of her breast implants. Flair is expected to have surgery to repair her implant after the WWE concludes their current European tour on May 20th. After Charlotte Flair has her surgery, she will miss an indefinite amount of time. Charlotte should have or could have either ruptured her breast implant during her match against Carmella at Backlash or on Smackdown Live. Charlotte Flair's in-ring absence will be felt immediately, but it will open up an opportunity for another member of the women's division to step in and shine. Charlotte most recently won a place in the upcoming Money in the Bank pay-per-view. She defeated upstart Peyton Royce to earn a spot courtesy of cage-side seats in the women's ladder match. Now there is a question whether Charlotte will be able to participate. While Charlotte Flair has not been ruled out of Money in the Bank, she has to be listed as questionable. Charlotte Flair is a must-see talent, but if the WWE has to put on the card without her, there are several suitable replacements. How the WWE handles Charlotte as she is on the menu, or the men's, will be interesting and somewhat telling. It will offer a clue into what the WWE intentions are for Money in the Bank, which will be on June 17th. Will Charlotte Flair be shown on WWE programming leading up to Money in the Bank? If so, is it likely that she will participate on the card somehow? Charlotte may not actually compete in the women's ladder match, which is a good thing for the WWE. Unlike other superstars, Charlotte does not necessarily have to compete on the Money in the Bank card in order to be considered as a title contender. Charlotte lost the SmackDown Women's Championship to Carmella less than a month ago. She is very much in the title picture. Surgery to repair a ruptured breast implant is a regular procedure. There should be little fear of Charlotte missing a long period of time. Charlotte missing any time hurts the WWE, but an opportunity awaits for someone else to rise to the occasion. So it's unclear whether or not Charlotte will be missing Money in the Bank, and clearly Charlotte has a lot to do with what is going on WWE SmackDown Live Women's Division storyline, so it's going to be interesting there. But I feel like this is a breath of fresh air. She's already been announced for a matchup, and as long as she can't miss that matchup, that's fine. But they overexpose Charlotte on television each and every single week. It's time to give some other women some opportunity to shine. Becky Lynch has been absolutely put on the back burner by WWE, or not even put on the back burner because they're not working on her, but they pushed her to the side. She's out of the limelight. This past week on SmackDown Live, she lost to Mandy Rose. Are you kidding me? Really? Is that what you think of Becky Lynch? This is one of your four horsewomen. She's so great in the ring. This was your first ever SmackDown Live Women's Champion. And what are you doing with her now? What? I mean, she's not even in the Money in the Bank ladder match. She lost to Mandy Rose. How much lower can you get than that? I mean, give her some spotlight. Why isn't she going one-on-one with Charlotte for the SmackDown Women's Championship? Are you kidding me? Give her an opportunity against Carmella. This is ridiculous. And speaking of the fact, I'm still pissed that Carmella was able to beat Charlotte, but Asuka wasn't? Are you kidding me? And Carmella beat Charlotte clean. Are you kidding me with that one? But Charlotte's getting effed up all over the goddamn place. I mean, she ruptured one of her breasts. Apparently, she lost her teeth as well. There was a little news report saying that Charlotte lost her teeth. So I don't know what's going on with Charlotte. She's losing everything. She even lost her SmackDown Women's Championship to Carmella. Either way, that's the news on Charlotte. I mean, she'll be missed, I guess. But she'll be back. It's a minor injury. No harm will be done. I'm sure SmackDown Live will be just fine. Either way, and over the next couple weeks, they're putting on Money in the Bank qualifying matches. So Charlotte's presence doesn't need to be seen. They'll probably do Naomi versus Sonya Deville, and they'll be fine for the week as far as women's competition goes. But Charlotte, as long as she can make the Money in the Bank ladder match, I'm sure it will be fine. Make it unpredictable. I'm sure Asuka will also be added to the Money in the Bank ladder match, so things will be interesting. But, I mean, honestly, nothing too terrible. Nothing too terrible here. Charlotte ruptures her breast. Hopefully, it will be fine. But for now, ladies and gentlemen, we move on to the closing segments of Behind the Mic. And for now, ladies and gentlemen, that is going to be all for this week on Behind the Mic. That has been Behind the Mic, episode number 63. I hope you enjoyed each and every single thing that you heard here on this edition of Behind the Mic. So much news, and of course, make sure to comment all you thought about this news in the comment section below. Like this video if you enjoyed what you heard here. Dislike if you didn't. And of course, make sure to subscribe to the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel and click on that notification bell as well as to go check out all the other content, because there is so much other content to go check out. Raw reviews, SmackDown reviews, pay-per-view reviews, and of course Behind the Mic each and every single week right here on the Ringside Wrestling YouTube channel. So make sure to do all that good stuff as well as to go check out the Twitter of the same name, RW Wrestling. Make sure to go check it out, ENT on Twitter. Because for now, that is going to be all right here on Ringside Wrestling and for Behind the Mic episode number 63. For now, this has been Joel Perez, and I am out of here. Thank you very, very much for watching this video. I'll see you all next time right here on Ringside Wrestling.